Hi guys, good morning. We are talking practical spirituality. I bring some thoughts or whatever from learning the Torah, the Jewish Bible, and I'm just in parashat Vayetze in Genesis, and it's talking about how to get good decisions, how to get good advice. So basically what they're talking about is sometimes when you want to get a really good advice, you need to go back and look at the whole situation from afar and just look at the details and look at the whole story, not go in the story, but just look at it from afar, and you are able to get more conclusions. But sometimes you can't do that, and what you're gonna have to do is go to a very smart person, maybe a teacher, maybe a doctor, I don't know, someone who could see it from afar, a good friend, and get advice. But there are some important things we need to know about getting good advice and what is good advice. So, when we have good advice, we're gonna feel it's like this is how we know it's good, okay? We're gonna feel that it has something to do with us. It's gonna sound familiar. It's gonna sound like it's from our world and not someone putting some new things upon us that has nothing really to do with us. It wants to feel like it's always been there, but I just needed the right move to get to it, and that is what a good advice is, basically. It's very important not to get clingy on the person who we're going for advice to. We have to remember that we have our own way, and each person is going to give a lot of, just imagine a friend. Okay, and I don't want to give a specific example, but just imagine asking advice from 100 different people. Just imagine that. I mean, you're going to get so much advice. You can't get clingy with every advice you hear. You have to know that you have your own way, and understand that people are going to give you advice from their own hearts. It's very important to see that it's not a character, the one who we're going to, it's not going to be a character who's going to make us feel bad about the way we're moving on. I mean, even if he doesn't agree with what we're doing, which is fine and makes sense. I mean, maybe we're in big trouble, and he's not going to make us feel bad about the fact that we're there. He's going to give us hope. He's going to give us love and a hand. He's not going to. Some manipulative people, that's their way of gaining power over other people. They make them feel bad, and that's not okay. A smart person is going to hear all the details you want to ask. He's going to give you the freedom to answer the truth. You're going to feel really good when you answer. You're not going to be afraid. You're not going to feel judged. A good way to see that the advice is meant for you and for your good is if you're gonna feel good when you hear it. If you feel good when you hear it, it means it's for you. It means it was meant for you. Okay, you're supposed to feel good when you hear advice. That's why you went for advice. So emotional independence when getting your decisions. So at the beginning, whenever you go and learn from someone new, let's say you chose to learn something, you just try this technique of self-healing, I don't know, maybe it's nutrition, maybe whatever it is. At first you kind of, how do you say mizdahe? You identify. I'm way more Israeli than American, I guess. So you identify with the teacher. It's important to identify with him, as a normal much, because it enables you to to devote yourself to that perspective and learn one of many ways there are in the world. Just imagine you go to school, like medicine school, whatever school or anything, and every time anyone tells you something, you put up a fight, like who said this and who said that, and you can't be so suspicious about everything. You have to devote yourself to an idea, at least just for the moment you're hearing about it, because otherwise you're not going to be able to take the good that you hear around. And there's a lot to take from everything in the world. And also in life, we're kind of gonna see a lot of ways and perspectives. So it's kind of cool that we are able to go through a few and try them out. And when we meet a person that has one perspective, we kind of know what he's talking about, because we saw that perspective for a while, or at least, and also when you leave one perspective and go to another, you don't leave the whole thing. You take what's good for you, because you understand that you're a whole person and you're a person of yourself, and you can move from place to place and take whatever good was in one place and take it to the other place where you gain more. And in the end, you kind of just make your own thing out of yourself. And I think that's the goal. It is important to remember that you have to have your own way. So that's what they say about Jacob, that when he left his parents' home and left to get married in his own way, he actually had to meet some difficulties in his way, and he wasn't ready for that, because he had really good parents, and then he met Lavan that was really weird and didn't get along at all, and he was like he had to go on eggshells to get married with the one he loved, with Rachel, and he was tricked into marrying her sister Leia, and really I don't know, I think it sucks, but it was hard for him, but in the end he was able to see the good. But he understand that he's gonna have to cope with this kind of stuff in his own way. That's not something he learned at his parents' house. And so he had to find ways to cope and deal in life that were his own. And he did such a good job that he was actually able to have a whole nation come out of him, which is amazing. Now, if you were already talking about the two sisters, Rachel, and Leia. So really, Rachel, she's the more practical sister, and Leia, she's the more mystical introvert sister, I would say. And we actually take both spiritual genes from both. And what I'm talking about now, I don't make anything out of myself. I have my own way of learning, but what I'm saying right now is from the Hasidut, okay, which is the more mystical part of Judaism, which is amazing, and not everybody gets to learn it, and that's why I'm so excited to share some of the things I learned. So Rachel is she's the more practical. She goes out. She's actually the Bible says she's beautiful. And on Leah, it doesn't say she's beautiful. It says that she is, she has soft eyes, which means she cries a lot, which is kind of understandable if she's a mystical and introvert. She has more time to cry. Rachel, the practical sister, she moves around. She does stuff. She's a practical person, less crying. We all know that. So Yaakov actually chooses to marry the practical sister. That's the one he loves. And he's a practical person, by the way. He's a very practical person. He does a lot. But God made him marry Leia for some reason. Because you're not supposed to miss out on mystical part in your life. You have to have both sides in you. If you live a life that is dry or very practical and you're not connected to some kind of spirit in you, then you're missing out. I mean, just imagine having like a whole operation, business, whatever, and it has no spirit in it. It has no drive in it. It's not going to hold for long. But also, so I mean, even Tony Robbins, even him, when he's a very practical person. He helps a lot of people. He has big businesses. He's not going to be able to do that if he didn't have a connection to a spirit, connection to a mystical world, if he wouldn't sit and meditate or whatever he does to help himself and the spirit part of his world. So that gives the drive and the passion and the fire, and that gives a lot of strength to every practical aspect in life. That's why I wake up, I usually always wake up really early in the morning, because I have a really practical life, which I did not used to have. And if I didn't have the morning where I connect to myself by learning or by doing my yoga or whatever I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to hold the day that is very practical. If I don't have my normal morning, I see the effect on my day. So it's very important to hold that. But we also have to say about like spiritual learning. We see, I always have to change my legs because this is not a high enough seat. So also spiritual learning, we have to say there are a lot of spiritual guides out there on YouTube, and like all over. People have retreats, people have content. The thing with spiritual learning, I want to help you be aware of this. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. Like when you get spiritual, people that have gone through it will tell you that they went in it, and it basically feels like it doesn't end. Like spirit doesn't end. It's endless, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and the more you go deeper, the weirder you become, because because it's really endless and big, and it just doesn't end, and you kind of lose yourself in this whole sea. So that's why you have to go back and become practical, and you have to find the exact amount of spirituality next to practicality to live a normal functional life, which has inspiration but has doing too. That's why we came to this world. If we had to only feel everything and go around, we would be spirits, and we're gonna be spirits one day. So just use this practical life you have in a spiritual way. And people think that spiritual is not doing. That's not true. That's not true. You got to do. In Hebrew, it's called, this world we're living in, it's called olam hamaseh. It means the doing, the world of doing. We come from olam ha'atzilut, that's where all the spirits are, but down to earth, you got to be down to earth. That's where you do, but you do take inspiration from a spiritual place. So you have to hold those two together. It's very important. And honestly, you feel God best. Oh, also, when you go to spiritual guides, it's like you finish the retreat and like, what have you learned? And you're like, it's kind of hard to put in words, it's hard. It's like you go out and you're like, I learned that I'm a soul. I learned that I'm a spirit. I learned that I'm okay. What do you do with that? I feel. I inspire. How do you do that? So basically it's just like a mix of really good ideas. I know. It's like you're not sure what's going on exactly. And that's not fair. That's a lot of people manipulate that way. So you have to be able to not be like that and just have them both. Um and it feels not good. Like when you learn more and more and more, it's like you feel not okay enough. Okay, that's the most important thing, I think. You don't feel good enough because there's always more, but when you do, it kind of enables you in your mind. You're able to do, and when you do something, so dopamine kicks in and you're able to feel good. With not doing, like, you're always like around and you can't get to do, the dopamine doesn't kick in, and like you feel you're not ever good enough because you always want to be better and holier and better and holier. It doesn't end. Please stop that. Please stop. Take inspire from the inspiration world. Do with this earthly world and live your life like you're supposed to. So practical spirituality, that's what we're doing here. Thank you. Bye.